Good afternoon, everybody. We are at the final session of this week's Business Festival, and boy, what a ride it's been. I cannot believe the outpouring of positivity and the amazing guests that we've had and the fantastic interviewers in Andrew and Darren. And now we're here at our final session, all about helping you understand why revealing your purpose is your secret sauce to success. I bet you never knew that purpose was your secret sauce. Well, now you do. And I'm going to talk to you lots about that today. And I'm delighted to say that I do have some help in the guise of our expert interviewer, Mr. Andrew Thorp, who's come to join us again. But just before I bring Andrew on to screen, I wanted to share a little bit around why purpose is so important. Now, some of you may have seen that I also did a purpose summit on Tuesday. And of course, that was on LinkedIn and more sort of geared towards corporate leadership. But that said, the stats that I shared that day at the opening, I want to share with you now as to why purpose should be something you're considering for your own leadership being purpose-driven, as well as your business being purpose-driven, because ultimately it helps you lead yourself and your business to success. So what are these stats I'm talking about? Well, before the latest research that I came across was out, we knew that purpose could have a positive influence on your mental and your physical wellness. We also knew that it would have a positive influence on employee engagement, for example, within an organisation, things like that. Now we've got some tangible figures, courtesy of McKinsey, who shared it on the 3rd of June in one of their latest podcasts. And they were talking about the impact that it has on employee engagement. And don't forget, we may not, as solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, have a huge team of people working for us or be part of a huge team, either way. However, we are still, if you're a limited company like me, an employee of that company. And, so in that respect, being engaged from that point of view is really important. But even if you're a solopreneur, freelancer, not a limited company, you still want to be engaged in the work that you do, because in some shape or form, you're employed by the contract for which you're fulfilling in the terms of the work that you're doing, or whatever the product is that you're supplying. You want to be fulfilled and purpose-driven in what you're doing. So some of these stats then, they were saying employee engagement rises when people are connected to their purpose and to that of their business, 6.5 times more likely to report higher resilience. They are also 4 times more likely to report better health, 2.6 times more likely to stay with the organisation. So for us in our business, to stick with it because we know and believe it's what we're meant to be doing. And then 1.5 times more likely to go the extra mile. Now, for me, that's hugely compelling in terms of the reasons why we should be looking at being purpose-driven leading from purpose in our own businesses. And when I talk with Andrew shortly, I'll bring in some of the bits and pieces that we talked about on Tuesday, because it was so interesting. I had 3 amazing guests: Matteo Gori from Barilla Group, Michelle Kingsland from Tropic Skincare UK, and Amy Avagun, who's a freelance instructional designer and all-round purpose guru. And it was a fascinating conversation. So if you missed it, go and have a look on my LinkedIn profile, and you'll be able to find the post in there. It's featured on my profile. So with that, I'm going to bring in the fantastic Andrew Thorp. And hi, Andrew.
Hello. The fantastic Andrew Thorpe couldn't make it today, so you've got me. I'm afraid I'm the substitute.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do my best to accommodate that, sir. So, what should I be calling you instead?
Oh, just call me Andrew. That's fine. I shall do my best.
Excellent. I'm sure that will be well over and above and more than enough. Now, let me just remind folks who you are, Andrew. So you are a speaker and trainer and consultant in the field of storytelling. You specialize in helping people with what you call verbal PR, helping them frame and deliver a compelling message when they're looking to promote something, a product or a service. In his view, it's a form of selling without selling, in terms of the way it feels and a way of connecting with the audience and moving them to action. So he also hosts the Leaning Forward podcast. So our second podcaster of the week. So welcome, Andrew, and thank you so much for coming and joining me for the final session, because we weren't sure it was going to happen, but I'm delighted to have you here.
I'm really pleased to be able to join you. It's great what you've been doing this week, and it's nice to sort of help round things off today.
It's fantastic. You were with me at the start, and now you're with me at the finish. I love it.
the bread either side of the meat in the middle.
Indeed. So let me hand over to you and let's get started.
Well, let's start with the P word, shall we? Purpose, and the other P word, Paula. And how do we connect the two P's? So I'm interested to know how what your purpose is. How would you articulate it now? And I'm interested to know where that came from. Its origin in a way.
Yeah, no problem. So I think I'm hoping people that in the group that have been around for a little while, this might not be a surprise, but for those of you that are new to me talking about purpose, my purpose is the courageous artist nurturing trust with soft tenacity. Now, that sounds like a really fancy statement. And let's just be clear, not everybody needs to have a big fancy statement. And I certainly didn't need to have it. So what normally happens now as time goes on is I pull out the things that mean the most to me. So we're talking about the courage here, the trust, and the tenacity. They're the three key things that are core to my purpose and how I operate in the work that I do, in the relationships that I have, and where my life is going in terms of my career and things like that. And the origins of it all are, I went on a really great course where they helped tease out all of the me behind those words, where my strengths are, values, my intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, where my sweet spot is, all of these things that were talked about to get to those words and phrases that really jumped out when people heard me telling my story about different things in my life. We even went back to the things that you found joyful as a child, for example, which was really, really good fun to talk about. Because when do we ever think about that now that we're adults? So that's where the artist piece comes from, who I am now, nurturing relationships in my life, like being a mum to my 14-year-old daughter, my 4.5-year-old Cavapoo, and probably my husband of 22 years. Well, being a wife, of course, but nurturing all those relationships, making new connections, that kind of thing. And that trust in myself and the courage to go for my own business, and then trust in others to come and buy my services, if you like, as well. And the trust that they put in me to do that, and then being tenacious, because let's face it, last year when the pandemic hit, I thought, what am I doing starting my own business? I was only 3 months in, and just thought, goodness me, I should just go back and get get a job in a corporate.
Mm.
I'm so glad I didn't. And honestly, having my purpose to anchor and ground me during that time of challenge has really helped me keep that focus and stay on the path, and knowing I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
Because the identification of purpose is very much a personal thing. You've got to feel it's part of your DNA. It's who you are. You feel very grounded. It's your true north. Call it what you will. But of course, at some point, it's also got to be linked with the client's issues that you can then help them with. So as a linked issue here, what is, how do you align your sense of purpose with the need of the client? What is it they're having a problem with that your purpose is aligned with?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, Andrew. And I think it's, the way that my purpose shows up in who I am and how I lead myself and how I support others. So, the fact that I have the courage to do these things that might take me out of my comfort zone. I was talking to Darren in the session earlier today about comfort zones and, how we push ourselves outside of the comfort zone. And that's where the magic happens, when you start to learn and push forwards. So having the courage to do that, I'm able to give others that courage, and help them, break down the barriers of self-belief, or lack of self-belief rather, or any other limiting beliefs they might have, to be able to build their confidence and move forwards. And I talked about that trust. When you coach somebody, there has to be that sort of chemistry. And I think you and I talked about this on day one, between, the coachee and myself as the coach, that we've really got to hit it off to enable us to be open and honest and show the vulnerabilities that you're not always comfortable talking about. Because the more that you open up and you're honest with yourself as a client, the more you're going to get out of that coaching relationship. And it is, helping them to trust themselves to do that too. And
so
again,
what I'm getting at is I'm trying to find the linkage between your own story and sense of purpose and what they find beneficial. So are you saying that they find some inspiration or succor or whatever you want to call it in your own story? Is that something that you would share with them in your coaching work, so that they can see the path that you've gone down, that then therefore might help them in some way?
I think that really is helpful, Andrew, in that when you want to work with somebody, it's often because they've been through what you've been through. There's that connection that they want to make, and sharing stories, as you well know in what you do, really helps people to connect with the experiences I've had. And again, I talked about this, I don't know if it was this morning or one of the other sessions, where we're all unique. We all bring something totally different to the table. And there may be thousands and thousands of leadership coaches out there, but people will choose to work with me because, one, they like the idea of purpose. And of course, I title myself as the natural leadership coach, so that the idea of what conjures up for them when they think about natural leadership, that natural belief that they have some sort of natural leadership ability within them, whether they're leading a business or working for an organization, for example. So they're the kinds of things that attract people as they see that I'm putting out there. Well, I help people reveal and ignite their purpose. I help people find the natural leader inside. And, the way these things go, that means that not everybody wants to work with me, because that doesn't work for some people. That's not what interests them or makes them say, oh, I want to know more about that. And some of the things that Paula talks about, they're real issues for me, and I want some help on those. So, that's having that purpose helps me articulate that so much better than I could have done 3-4 years ago before I connected with my purpose. And when I say before I connected with it, that doesn't mean I didn't have purpose before, because I think it's important to say that we all have our purpose in there. We just don't always know how to bring it to the forefront and use it to our advantage to help us lead us and our businesses in the best way possible.
So you talk about the discovery of your sense of purpose. Did you say about 3 years ago, particularly on this course that you went on? So did that coincide with you realizing you wanted to take these insights to clients? Did those things coincide, or did that come later that you realized, well, actually I can do this for a living? You know, I can help people find their sense of purpose, ignite their passion and so forth. Did it emerge later, or did it come at the same point that you found your own sense of purpose?
So I was already on the path to knowing I was going to be made redundant and that I was likely to run my own business, as you know, in terms of being a coach, and finding my purpose actually helped me really focus the fact that purpose was what I was interested in supporting people in. Or one of the things that I'm interested in supporting people in. So yes, in answer to your question, I think it did come a little bit later, because I hadn't been through that deep experience. And until I had, I didn't know what I was missing, Andrew, is the honest answer.
Because my next question really, you've almost alluded to it there, is what was life like before you found it? You know, what's it like living in a, not necessarily a purposeless existence, because you said you no doubt had a sense of purpose each day, but we're not quite talking about it in that way. So what was it like? Paint a picture of what it was like before you found this really solid, grounded idea of what your purpose was.
I don't think I could have answered that prior to finding my purpose. Now that I know what it's like to have it, I remember what it was like not to have it. And for me, the way I describe it, and actually a little bit freakishly to me, because these are my words that I'm going to share with you now, but I have had several people in the last couple of weeks articulate it in exactly the same way. And you know, when you have that moment like, oh, I'm listening to myself, it's a bit strange. But it's as if something was missing. On paper, I had a great job, I had a lovely family, a roof over my head, food on the table. You know, we were doing okay financially and in all other aspects of our lives. And I think, you know, there was a small part of me that was just like, just something's missing. I don't feel fulfilled. You know, it just doesn't feel like a full life, whatever that was supposed to be for me.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what, as I say, two or three people recently have described to me, that actually I should be so grateful for what I've got, and I feel guilty for thinking that I want more, but something's missing. Can you help? You know, and it's so interesting to have that conversation and give ourselves that permission to be okay with saying, well, actually, I want more. And wanting more doesn't necessarily mean I want to earn millions in the bank. That's not what I'm saying here, but to fill up your life in the right way for you.
So did you feel therefore that you were sort of going through the motions of what you were doing before, that you were getting up in the morning, doing the usual routines, going to work, doing the work to the best of your ability, but it didn't feed your soul? It didn't sort of give you this sense that, you know what, the work I'm doing really, really matters, and I'm strongly, you know, almost passionate about what I'm doing because it's making a difference? Did you not feel that way?
As you're saying, I'm smiling because that's exactly what was happening. You know, and you use the term feeding your soul. It's so true. You know, I've alluded to resilience a lot this week, and there's the mind, body, and soul element. And honestly, feeding your soul by revealing and igniting your purpose is a huge part of that, building your resilience, and why I consider myself to be such a resilient person. And, you know, before finding it, I definitely was going through the motions and always finding myself every maybe year and a half at the most, probably looking for what's next in the career, because I was never quite happy with what I had.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't always about the money. It was, oh, this is great, but I've kind of got to the top of what I can do with this job. What's next? What else can I do that's going to fulfill me more and make me feel more satisfied? So I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Let me just share a story I came across recently. It's more to do with organizational culture in the sense of finding purpose as an organization, which is obviously a very linked topic to what we're discussing today. There's a company in the States called Rackspace. And you and I discussed this the other day. It's run, or was at that time, at the time that I heard this TED talk, it's run by a guy called Graham Weston, who gave this extraordinary talk about the fact that he wants all his employees to feel that they're a valued member of a winning team on an inspiring mission. And they didn't always feel that way. They might have felt they were valued in the sense that they were being paid enough, or that, you know, the work they were doing, they felt they were doing it well, and people were saying, well done, thank you for a good job. They might have felt they were winning in the sense that they were clearly winning contracts and perhaps growing as a business, but they were a little bit short on the inspiring mission. And one of the turning points for the company that's based in San Antonio in Texas was Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
Because it devastated that part of the United States. And they rallied around to help the people who had been, you know, rendered homeless by this terrible catastrophe. And they had an old warehouse that wasn't really used, and they converted it into temporary accommodation for those residents who were ousted from their homes. And the camaraderie and the sense of renewed purpose and collective action was apparently transformative for the company. And I just think it's an interesting example how people rally round with something that's perhaps a little bit more emotive than what they're normally doing. And it gave them that sense that, you know what, I'm really proud of what I'm doing here, and it's work that matters. It's making a difference.
Yeah, I love that story, and thank you for reminding us, or me particularly, and us sharing it with all of us, of that Rackspace story. I think, you know, when I work with clients on purpose, especially in a team environment, you know, you go through and you're supporting them all to find their individual purpose as team members. But then you come together and you bring that together and you relate it to the purpose of the team or the function or whatever, or the small business, and help them connect to it in a really different way. And that sense of collective purpose going forwards towards a common goal can be really, really inspiring. And I just think about that collective purpose as, you know, in my Olympic experience, which came up this morning, you know, as we were all striving to help Team GB win gold at the London 2012 Olympics. You know, I might have been doing the preparation camp, and someone else might have been doing, you know, I can't think of the title, the sports director role where they were interacting with all the different sports and things like that. Whatever the role might have been, we were all coming together to make Team GB successful on the day. And, you know, I know that I lived in London at the time, and the change in the atmosphere and the people and the friendliness in the capital during those 2 weeks was like I lived on a different planet.
No, great sense of pride, and, you know, wanting to be associated with something. But if I can just bring it back to the individual level now, the other reference that I would make is I talk a lot about Sir Ken Robinson's work, the late great Ken Robinson, who spoke on TED about, do schools kill creativity? And he wrote a book called The Element, which was all about the fact that he met many people on his travels who were very good at what they did for a living, but they weren't in love with it.
Yes.
And he actually mentioned a concert pianist in his book who, at the end of giving a performance, which was a fabulous performance, I think the orchestral director came up to her afterwards and said, that was really good, but you didn't enjoy it, did you? And she said, no, not really. And he could tell that there was something missing for her. And I think she changed direction in the end. She ended up doing something different that did feed her soul.
Yes.
So I guess the element is that when you're in your element, you find that thing that you're very good at, that you also love doing, that does have the soul feeding element in it that was perhaps missing for her.
Yeah, and in part of my personal journey, making that transition from being 28 years in corporate to being self-employed, having my purpose drove me to make that choice and have the courage to go for it. I would never have thought, and if you'd asked me 2 years prior, would you ever have your own business? I'd be like, oh God, no. The idea and the sort of being terrified of not having some sort of corporate umbrella over the top that looks after me, it was an absolute no for me. But finding my purpose really gave me the courage to say, actually, I've been wanting to be a coach for so long, albeit that I was doing it inside corporate before I left for quite a number of years. I wanted to do it for me, to help others, and do it full time. And that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing now, exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I've just seen a message, a note from Darren here. What's he saying? This is making me think of the NASA story when a NASA janitor was asked what his job was, and he replied to put a man on the moon. Every employee knew their part, where they fitted, and bought into the wider purpose. Yeah, that's so true. I remember that. It's a lovely story.
It is. It's a great story. Yeah, exactly. He's now become a very famous janitor, I suspect.
Yes, I suspect you're right. But yeah, I just I really love the fact that I'm doing what feeds my soul. It's such a lovely way to say it.
And how do you feel that it's helped you during the pandemic? Because obviously you started your business, because you and I first met in the latter part of 2019, I think it was, when you came to one of my events in South Manchester. And you were in your early stages, I think, then of in the coaching field.
Yeah, I was just preparing to get started as of the 1st of January 2020.
Yeah. And then something came along. So has that sense of certainty helped you get through the last 16 months or however long it's been?
Yeah, it really has, Andrew. And I think, I talk a lot about your purpose being that anchor that grounds you in times of challenge. You've always got somewhere to come back to, when the road is got lots of potholes in it on the way, and you're finding it difficult, and you're having to swerve and go around all these different obstacles. You've always got that sense of why you're doing it, why you love what you do, and that helps to remind you and keeps pushing you forwards. And the interviews that I did on Tuesday, Amy, the instructional designer and general purpose guru, she always finds a different way to describe it, purpose, every time I speak to her. And on this particular day, she used the idea that it's a pilot light inside you, that it never goes out and will never go out until the very end. Once you find it, it's always with you. Or say find it, connect with it. It's always with you, and you're always able to draw that inspiration and energy from it. Because, you know, I'm not going to lie, there were days last year that were super, super tough, and we've all been through that, and thought, my goodness me, you know, what am I doing when everything's in chaos and there's a global pandemic? What am I supposed to be doing?
This is why I think your phrase "courageous artist" is very interesting, because again, one of my heroes is Seth Godin, and I first heard him use this phrase about your art. You know, the work that you do, the way you do it, the why behind it is very much your art. And of course, if you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're maybe a poet, or you're a journalist, or whatever it happens to be, you don't really switch off, because it's who you are. It's like asking you to become someone different. So I really love that sense of having a pilot light that Amy talked about the other day. That was a really lovely analogy, because as I mentioned on the day, you know, when the hairdresser says to me, "Are we off today, sir?" And I thought, I can't really answer that question, because I'm neither off nor on. I'm just me.
Yes.
Because luckily enough, I have found my sense of purpose as you have, and you don't sort of switch it off. It's just there.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And you know, we talk about it being this renewable energy and renewable inspiration from inside you, because when you have those moments and you're like, what am I doing? Oh yes, I remember, and off you go again. And it, you know, I'm not saying it's always that easy that it clicks in immediately. We all have good and bad days, of course, but it really does give you that central anchor, can't think of another word, to hold on to, that helps guide you through the things that you do in life. And I must just say, Andrew, it isn't just my work that it helps me with, because I think once you connect with your purpose, it's part of who you are as a whole. So, you know, it really supports you in your personal life too. And when you think about how you could lead from your purpose to lead you and your business to success, it's super, super important, critical, in fact, that you consider the personal life within that as well. You know, that you're considering how you fit into your family, how you want to show up for them, you know, versus how you want to show up for work, and all of those things that come with it. So it's a real whole and balanced view of who you are.
And we talked the other day, I think it was one of the contributors, I can't remember who it was, asked whether your sense of purpose changes over time. And I thought that was a fascinating question. And certainly I think for me, it has, but the deeper beliefs and principles and values haven't really changed. They're the bedrock that don't really move for me. But where they're channeled, or how they're utilized and channeled, might change according to circumstances, or according to, you know, changes in the marketplace, or what I happen to be interested. But I think you've got to have something that's pretty rock solid to help you feel, you know, grounded and secure. And then I think once you've found those sets of principles and those values and what you're interested in, it always strikes me that you tend to attract more of that stuff.
Yes.
It's almost like, you know, moths being attracted to a light bulb, but it comes from you being interested and enthusiastic about something, and then stuff seems to appear.
Yeah.
It's a strange thing. I don't quite know how to describe it. Some people will say it's the law of attraction, whatever it happens to be. I actually think it's one of the ways that people can build up their story library, which is one of the things that you and I've talked about a lot in the last year and a half or so since we met, 2 years, is that, you know, when you're interested in things, stuff comes out of the woodwork that sort of reaffirms those beliefs and principles and values, but you tend to just find little nuggets everywhere, because the light bulb or the pilot, I'm mixing my metaphors now, but the pilot light or the light bulb is burning bright, and just
Absolutely.
tends to attract stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You
And I
better
think
stop me before I go off on a tangent and have multiple metaphors here.
well, I was just going to go back to your point that you started with about, can your purpose change over time? Because for the benefit of those that weren't with us on Tuesday on the Purpose Summit, it doesn't. And I'm glad you were listening, Andrew, because you did give the answer that I gave on Tuesday, which is the fundamental building blocks of it don't change. And that's in terms of who you are, your strengths, your beliefs, your values, all of those things that bring to the fore your actual purpose that you're connecting with. Now, I used the example that having done put my purpose words together a few years ago now, revisited it about a year ago, probably now, and a few words in it changed. But what didn't change was the courage, the trust, and the tenacity, because they are core to who I am. So I think things can change, circumstances change, life events can happen, so it changes your focus, but the fundamental building blocks of who you are don't change.
And when clients approach you initially, or potential clients, before you do your chemistry test with them, how do they articulate what they see as the need that they have? How do they describe it when they say to you, look, I'd like your help. I like what you have to say about, for example, purpose. How do they express it?
So with purpose, I think I was saying this a little bit earlier, but it really is that piece that's missing. And they're asking themselves a lot of questions. Oh, I don't know if I'm in the right job, or I've been doing this for so long, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Well, what do I do next? There's all sorts of questions that are coming up. And a lot of the time it is to do with their career. They come to a kind of crossroads. I've been at X company for 12 years and this role for 6, and I've taken it as far as I can, and I don't really know what to do next. And it comes back to that there's something missing, that they want to find and fulfill to enable them to make that informed decision to decide what's next. And I think when you do the deep work around your purpose, you start to understand the types of things that are really important to you and the types of things that aren't. And I loved David yesterday. I know this is about mental toughness, but almost in the same way, he talked about a wellness menu, putting all the things on there that make you feel happy and well and help support you, and the scale of 1 to 5 on each thing, which would then give you your top 3 most important things. When you find your purpose, you start to be able to do that with your, let's call it your purpose menu, the things that you do in your life that then become the most vital things that you can identify, that are all 5 on the scale versus everything else. And you might have some 1s and some 3s and so on the list of things that are really important. And what that can do is help you decide, A, I am absolutely in the right organisation and I want to find another role here. B, I'm definitely not in the right organisation, and this is the type of organisation I want to go for because it fits with my purpose. And it really helps you get clarity, and it's not a simple one and done. It takes a bit of time to get to this point and work through it. But the more honest and open you can be with yourself, the quicker I think that you can push yourself to help get to those sorts of conclusions.
Well, seeing as you've used the conclusion word there, Paul, that might be a good time to draw things to a close. But one final question. We are nearing the middle of 2021. Can you believe it? It's
Not really.
just
Yeah,
astonishing, isn't it?
what's 22nd is the summer solstice, isn't
The
it?
longest day. So what lies ahead in the second half for you? What would you like to see happen in the second half of 2021?
Well, I've loved doing this festival. So maybe there's a second festival coming up later in the year, perhaps in October time, who knows? So it'd be great to get everybody's feedback and see what they've thought, and whether they want to, do this sort of thing again, and how helpful that's been. But in terms of the business, there's all sorts of things that have been bubbling along that will come to fruition in the coming few months, that I really hope blossom into something really special, and bringing now my Connecting with Your Purpose program, and really having been able to articulate that and build that behind the scenes, and now being able to offer it out there to people as individuals, is I'm really proud of, and I really hope that people will start to want to come and do that with me, because I've done it previously. It just hasn't been called Connecting with Your Purpose, and obviously supported lots of people. And I think I was saying this morning, I've probably helped about 50 people since I've been doing this purpose work to find their purpose, which has been truly an honor. And of course, every single one of them comes up with something different in terms of their purpose. And just before we finish off, Andrew, Darren's made a comment. How do you address things which conflict with your purpose? Could be a thing or a person or a business. Well, I think only the person I'm working with, so in this case, Darren, only you can answer that question, because it comes into play with your values. Is something going on that's deeply against the values that you hold and deeply against the purpose that you hold, then I think it's a decision that you've got to make, but that you ought to be thinking about going and finding a different role with a different organization that doesn't have that deep conflict. And when it's people, we know that relationships, I'm a strong believer that people come and go in your life over time. You have the constant people that are always with you, that choose to be with you throughout your life, but there are others that come and go for short spaces of time. And it could be that you've come to the end of that sort of mutually agreeable time together, and it's time to move on. So it depends on the circumstances. That is a tricky one to answer, Darren.
I think from my own experience, when you start in business, it's very difficult to turn anything down, because you need the work. You tend to say yes to everything.
Yes.
Sometimes you regret saying yes to certain assignments or certain individuals that you begin to work with. But over time, as you become more confident, as you establish yourself, then not only can you choose who you want to work with, you actually tend to attract the right types of people and clients because of how you put yourself out there. So it's almost a self-fulfilling thing in the end, but that takes that sense of certainty, and purpose is very much part of that. That you send out a particular signal to the marketplace that tends to attract the right kinds of clients for you.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Andrew. It is all about how you come across, and often, well, some of the guidance that I received in the first year from a mastermind that I was in, for example, if you're always coming at your audience from a place of, I really need to make money, and then frantic and desperate, that's going to give such a different message than coming at the audience in a way of, I want to serve and help and support you. It's all in the communication style and the messages you put out and the way that you behave in, as when you're getting visible, as to what comes back, shall we say, or that you attract, if we go to the law of attraction there. So yeah, it is really interesting. You're absolutely right. Very different at the very start of your business journey when you are trying to make ends meet and get going, compared to, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years into it.
So Paula, shall we bring things to a close? I'm sure you have ignited many a pilot light in the last 16 months or so, if I may put it that way. You've certainly helped me, and I've always enjoyed our conversations, and will continue to do for the second half of 2021 and beyond. So thank you so much for this week. And it's been great to be able to top and tail it with you, and congratulations on this wonderful festival that you've put on. It's been terrific, and I think it's given lots of value to many people.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew. I really appreciate you helping me top and tail it. And alluding to our Spinal Tap conversation beforehand, I think we definitely turned it up to 11 today.
Yes, up to 11. Thank you, Paula. Well said.
You're so welcome. And I'll see you soon. Thank you again, right, Andrew. And I'm just now going to stay on just for a couple of minutes to finish off. Wow. What can I say? What a week or 3 days of amazing discussions and interviews. You know, we really have had some amazing guests in Leslie, David and Ali, and some brilliant expertise interviewing by Andrew and Darren this morning, and Andrew again today. I can't thank you all enough for getting involved and just wanting to help support our business community in the group. And if we want some more of this, I will consider doing it again later in the year, as I say, perhaps October, if I can fit it into the calendar. But you guys have to let me know if that's something that you're interested in. Now, in terms of helping support you separate to that, if you would like to have a discussion about how I can help you, whether it's connecting with purpose, whether it's working with you know, you individually, or you have a small team, because I know some of you manage teams and things like that, and that would be the accelerated purpose experience, then I'm very happy to discuss both of those with you. But as you know, the festival this week, I've been talking about my On Point one-to-one coaching program, and we can bring a little element of purpose into that too. As I said to you, it's a program that's flexible and suitable to the needs of each individual. It does follow a structure in terms of my 5 R's framework, taking you from realizing you need support to getting the results that you want, with some re-energizing, some refocusing and some recalibration in there. And that's all about lots of the things we've talked about this week, you know, that sort of motivational goal setting, as well as finding what's important to you, as well as showing up and leading you and your business in the right way for you, and getting that big vision of success and getting yourself to it by, importantly, committing and taking action to get there. So whatever your journey is in your business, I wish you every success. And I really thank you all for listening this week. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve you. And I'll pop a link in for you to book a call if you wish to discuss any of this or how I might be able to help you further. Then please do get booked in. So with that, I will draw the festival to a close. Thank you again to everybody who's helped, got involved, commented, and supported me this week. It's been hugely helpful. And Darren, bless you, saying super valuable for the group. Highly recommend, if anyone has missed the live sessions, to go back and watch the recordings. Yes, if you're signed up, of course you'll get the replays tomorrow. If you're in the group, you can scroll through and find the replays in there anyway. But it's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you, everyone. And I will see you on Monday's live for our usual get together and whatever our theme might be next week. But now I'm going off for a gin and tonic, just one, to celebrate this week. So enjoy whatever you're up to. Bye for now.